Okay, I bet you guys got a little bit more than what you were bargaining for. This will be the journal we are covering today. This came in per request from a lovely lady, and I think it came out great. So, please check it out. I hope you really enjoy it. And please, I hope you comment on the video. Definitely like it, especially if you love it. It was a lot of fun working with this one. And especially since I know who this is going to. This is going to my Uncle Loyal, who's been the chief ever since I was pretty much thought of. So, I know him and his wife are going to really love it. And I'm just so excited. I really am. I can't wait to give it to him now. I want to finish it and go give it to him tomorrow. That's just the type of person I am when I give a really great gift. But I know I have to wait. So please help me with this one. I will be loading photos on Instagram when it is completely finished. I will obviously load some really awesome photos on Instagram of what it looks like now, and obviously what it looks like when it's finished. If you go all the way down to the bottom of my Instagram photos, I think some of my first photos are the Christmas stocking I made last year for my uncle out of these same turnouts. So I hope you all love that. That one was also a lot of fun. Yeah, let's get started. And the puppers are barking. Give me a second, please. Okay, so we're going to be doing a very fun one today. I have this firefighter turnout gear that maybe I should turn on some of my lights. That was given to me by some family members. They're dated and the department couldn't use them anymore, and it was either send them off to the garbage heap or send them to me to be repurposed. And I love repurposing things, and everyone in my family knows this. I'm actually supposed to be getting quite a few more of them in. I used these to make last year's Christmas presents, and I have quite a bit left over, so I can't wait to start cutting these up to make this journal. So if any of you have anything very unique that you want used in your journal, go for it. The sky is the limit. That is the wonderful thing about junk journals. You can put anything your heart desires on these things. So I kind of have an idea, but I'm going to have to get the kitchen scissors to cut this thing up. This is going to make this very interesting. So I'm going to see what I can come up with while I am... Oh yeah, no, I don't... See, because it's sitting on the Velcro. If it wasn't sitting on the Velcro, that would make this easier. But it would still be fun to make that the closure. The only downside is this. That's alright though, because I also have these cinching straps on the side I can use for a closure. I'll figure out something. Alright, well, I'm going to get to cutting on this ginormous piece of fabric. I actually am going to have to go get out my kitchen shears for this one. For some of the other journals that you guys have seen me do, you've seen me do them in sweaters, basic fabric, that pattern for pattern material for making clothing. So many different great and wonderful ideas for upcycling. The sky's the limit. The only limits you have are what you set on yourself. So if you think you can do it, try it. Alright, let me go cut this up. I will be back. Okay, everybody, I have my pieces cut. I cut out this section on this one with the black. That was the padding for the elbow. Now I just have to go through and cut it off of here and I have to go through and cut it off of here. So, you have to remember with these really, really thick fabrics that you need a good pair of scissors. And sometimes even these heavy-duty scissors, I mean, it took me a minute to cut through this fabric. So, keep in mind your materials you're working with, and if you have, well, really craptastic tools like these scissors, I found them on the side of the road next to a fabric store one day with my mom, and I picked them up because I knew that I was going to need them for these fabrics and for these heavy duty things, and they work great. Now I bleached the crap out of them when I got them home, and they were ready to use in a couple hours, but you know, I mean, win-win situation. I got myself a good pair of scissors to cut up all these wonderful fabrics. So, right here, you have to take into consideration for this. I don't know whether I'm going to mount that or if I'm going to leave it open. I'm probably on this because it's the spine. I'm going to have to mount it. For the covers, I may not have to do that, considering I'll probably just do it along the edge here to keep from having issues during the mounting process. Let's see, did I cut them all off? I did. Perfect. So now that our fabric is prepped, let's go get the rest of our tools and get to work. Okay, so I went and got myself a new bottle of glue because my other bottle's almost out. Also some water. I'm dying of thirst. It is Arizona after all. I use my nail trimmers. I use pretty much anything that's long, pointy, and sharp that I can get down in here to get this little piece out. Now, I've used Fabri-Tac since I've started journaling. I've used it for years. Yeah, just go ahead and throw that away. Oh, wow, it's all gunked up in there. I need some pliers. Well, I found my second one of my nail trimming thingies. So, I love getting these miniature pliers. You can, I got this set and the orange set, I think, at Harbor Freight. They work great for these projects. They work great for jewelry making. I use them all the time. And you can just get your fingers into small places that you otherwise wouldn't be able to fit. And why is Lexi? I think she wants outside. She has been a little turd all morning. She has been in and out, in and out, in and out. There we are. Oh. It's wanting to be. There we go. Okay. Now that we got that out of there, we'll be able to actually use our glue. It was sitting up in the closet for a little bit because I like to buy it in bulk. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and put away all of our tools, and these actually go with my nail kit. I don't know why one of them was in with my tools. Alrighty, so I think, because I have a curved spine here that I did, but I don't think I'm going to use it. I think I'm just going to use this flat one. I pre-draw my lines before I put on the ridges. It helps with alignment and being able to fit them in place. So, this is probably going to be the easiest one to start with since it is the smallest. Again, Fabri-Tac. This is pretty much all I've used since I've started journaling. I've used it on pretty much everything. I know quite a few other people that I follow and I watch also use Fabri-Tac. So, if Nick the Booksmith uses it, then hey, fine by me. I'm going to use it on all of my projects too. The one thing I have noticed though, it is a very strong glue. I've used it quite a bit on almost all of my projects. So when you really get going on your projects, you might want to have a small little fan or your ceiling fan going, because it gets strong, and as you can see right now, it's moving the ink around, so be careful with that too. All right, so let's just go ahead and place our fabric down. And just press it in as best as you can. And with the black fabrics, I've found thus far that this glue bleeds through, so you have to be very precise with the black fabrics. It takes practice. Oh, and another thing I wanted to mention is with this more heavy-duty fabric, especially if you're using industrial grade stuff that came off previously upcycled goods, be sure and wash your fabrics, because you have no idea what has been on this stuff. From experience, being that it's in the family business, I know what these jackets go through. I know the days that they have seen. And that is just on the factory line getting prepped and ready for use. So you want to definitely wash your fabrics, especially fabrics like this. You don't want any dangerous chemicals, because they have to spray this stuff to make it safe to go inside of burning buildings and make it flame retardant. And then when you go inside the burning buildings, there's chemicals you would not believe that this is introduced into. Now, granted, the firefighters do wash their turnout gear. If I'm not mistaken, I think they just wash it regularly. It's been a long time, but I think there might also be a special way to wash them. So keep in mind, before you use all this stuff, do not put it in products that you're going to be probably introducing to your babies, especially infant babies, or putting it into products that you're going to be having around little itty bitty kids that they're going to be sticking in their mouths or anything like that. That might not be the best idea. But for instance, this journal will be going to my uncle and aunt. They are longtime firefighters for years. So this is going to be a wonderful Christmas gift for them and their family. Excuse me. Again, I still got the sniffles. I had a really, can't even talk right now. I had a really, really gnarly cold. Oh, and be careful too, because you're going to be using your finger a lot to smooth out the glue. Don't touch your fabrics. I do that sometimes on accident. Sometimes you can use a toothbrush, or depending on the intensity of your fabric, how good it is, a light wire brush will also work. There we are. Look at that. Looking good. If you are allergic to a lot of things, or you have very sensitive skin, during this process you might want to wear gloves. Especially if you have sensitive skin, or you have really high allergies or intolerances to certain things. Working with the fabrics, and definitely working with this glue. Again, it is a very fragrant, strong glue. I was with my mom one day, and they actually tried carding me to buy this glue. And it's funny because I'm like, I'm almost 30, guys. Come on. And then, well, they still card me because, well, I look really young for my age, so. Woohoo, I love the way this is turning out. I hope you all are enjoying this. Alright, we're gonna let that sit for a minute and set. Kind of want to wrap something around it to make sure it doesn't move. I have a Gur bracelet. Yes, I think that might work. There we are. That'll keep it in place for a little bit. Yes, I love Invader Zim. It is my favorite cartoon. Okay, now the glue pops off the top a lot, so I like to use that and just wipe it on there real quick. No need in wasting glue. This stuff is not cheap. Not cheap as far as glue goes anyway. But it definitely is worth the price if you want something that works. Alrighty. You can hear the kiddos munching in the background. They're munching away. Be sure and get your cover good and coated with this stuff. You don't have to overdo it, overdo it, but do it to make sure that you are definitely going to get proper coverage from whatever fabrics you are using. Especially the more heavy duty the fabric, the better the coat of glue you're gonna want. If you're doing like papers and stuff, you don't have to do it like excessively thick, but this fabric is really thick, so I'm really getting it on there. And then, you know, smooth it out with your fingers. Make sure there's no air bubbles or anything, especially if you want it to lay on there really nice. That, and I like to smooth it out a lot too, because it gets a little tacky before you put the fabric on. And it makes it a little better for the glue because it doesn't quite bleed through as bad. Okay, so I want to place this one oh so precisely. I cut it just right on the fabric because it was right in the armpit. Alright. Now, when you're mounting these pieces of fabric, you're really going to want to just get in there and push down on it. I think I got a crafting card in here, or a crafter's credit card. I know one of my lovely subscribers sent me it. Oh, you know what? It's in my my main box that I carry with me everywhere. It goes to my mom's. It goes with me to friends' houses. I teach classes at Joann's every now and then. If any of you live local, follow me on Facebook. I am going to try and start teaching classes at Joann's, and possibly in private if anyone is interested. I think it would be so fun to have a wonderful ladies' night with a nice glass of wine and making these beauties. I actually would love to have a girls' night like that. I invited my sketties over one night, but she had to go home afterwards, so she couldn't have a glass of wine. So that was a bummer, but it was still a lot of fun to have her over for a form of girls' night to be able to work on these. Okay, so I cut my corners at an angle and be sure they have a nice gap. You don't want the fabric to be seen. Alright, come on. Crappy scissors. I've been using them for a long time. And with some of these, the fabric is going to start getting thick in some areas. You can trim it down. Actually, on my Christmas journal, the one I showed you, I had to use cardboard to even it out to make sure that everything would fit nicely on it. See, like this one I'll possibly trim down. There we are. Get a good corner fold out of that one. See? It looks nice when it's done. Perfect. All right. And I pretty much just eye it. I've gotten to where I can eye it. Definitely if you haven't gotten used to it yet, you want to do a little bit more than eye it. At least a good, little under the width of your finger, a little bit over. About as wide as your index finger. And pinching these corner pieces right here, it really helps when you're bending down the edges. And again, remember you got these layers here and these weird fabrics. Remember to glue down your layers. You don't want to have issues with them later. Oh, we should probably glue right here too. There we are. Alright, Fabri-Tac beacon. You need to make a little caddy that holds these things upside down. That the glue doesn't, so the glue doesn't come down, but it falls down to the bottom of the bottle. And you still have the nice pointy tip. Just so you know, beacon, if you're watching. It would really help. I've been saying that for the past year now. Okay. Oh yeah, we got lots of excess fabric here we can trim. Kind of have to saw with these poor scissors. Okay, there we are. If you have carpet, do not rub the little glue balls off your finger onto the carpet. Very bad idea. I have a tile floor, so it doesn't bother me any. I can just sweep it all up when I'm done. Although it is saltile tile, one day in the far future, it will be replaced. My mom's like, oh, but it's so pretty. I do not like saltile tile. I dropped a piece of tape on my tile when I first moved in. And I went to pick up the tape, and it took up half the tile with it. I was like, what the crap is this? Yeah. And on some of them, you're really going to have to pinch them in there. See, because I didn't get it far enough down. And you can see the white underneath. So it's a working experience, learning to work with the fabrics. See, now it's gone. So you just really got to work with them and mold them and play with them. The cover making process like this is quite time consuming. Actually, after I'm done with this, I gotta go clean the house. Because my boo is coming over tomorrow and he hates a messy house. And well, we all know us crafty ladies. We get pretty crazy with it. And I don't think my house has been spotless in a while. So it's time. And I'm definitely missing the clean look. Oh, well, that was a little big, but whatever. It'll work. Alright. That and my poor craft room. I literally have been working so hard towards making a little extra cashola so I could get some organization going on in here. It has been driving me insane. Hopefully, well, my parents might be coming up for Christmas, so I'm not sure I want to get rid of the guest bed in here just yet, because I do have a tiny twin size bed in here. And my dad, he's kind of in a medical bed, so if they're coming up, you know, I don't want to just go and get rid of it, but we'll see what happens. I also have a very big couch. I mean, a huge couch. So if anything, he could sleep on the couch nicely, and we shouldn't have any issues. All right, you see there how it's mounted really nicely. You don't want to pull on it really hard and separate it, but yeah, it's really glued on there. There we go. All right. Really go to town on this part. You do not want it coming off. Glue to your heart's content. Okay, maybe not that much. You don't want it oozing out the sides. All right. Now pull your fabric. Push it down as tight as you can. I'm literally resting it against my stomach right now as I pull tight on it. because I want it to be nice and tight and in place. See how that looks when it's finished? Looks very clean, really nice. We do have a little bleeding of the glue on the back, but it's nothing crazy. Just hold it in place a little bit, make sure it gets nice and tacked on there before you move on to the next corner. If you get glue on your fingers, this is generally what I do. Comes right off. Wait. Hi, Fluff. Are you snuggling? Are you snuggling? Yes, of course I'm snuggling, Mom. I love to snuggle. Well, bless you. Hi, Lexi. Oh, that little bless you. Yeah, he loves to help Mama craft. Lexi's still learning, but you know. Alrighty, so these right here are really, really thick. You're definitely gonna have to work with them more and hold them into place as they dry so they don't pop up. Very time consuming. Takes some patience working with these. Keep that in mind, especially when you get into the thicker, heavier based fabrics. I actually have a really pretty lacy one with velvet flowers that I want to cover a journal with. I haven't decided what is going to go under it yet. It's a black lace with these beautiful red flowers. So I have to figure out, and I'm pushing it against me too, so again, so I can get it mounted just right. And see these corners, how they're lining up really nice. And I'll push it down and be sure it stays in place. And just keep molding it until it dries like you want. And do not stop until it stops moving. See, like that. Just push it outwards against the top. And see right there what I mean by the glue is bleeding through the fabric. That's because you're putting a lot of pressure on the fabric at this point. You want it to stay in place. You don't want it to move. So keep pressing as it's drying so it mounts and stays. And you might have a little bit of glue seeping through the fabric. Again, you're probably just going to have to take a brush, to a toothbrush or a wire brush, depending on your type of fabric. Alright, see, look, and it is in place. Looks really nice. Look at that beautiful edge. Now, my line's a little crooked, but hey, it looks really nice still. I really love the way it came out. And, well, you know, it's original. So, but I still haven't figured out what to put underneath that black and velvet lacy looking thing. It's gonna be so pretty when it's done. I can feel it. All right, on to the next one. Oh, you know what? On my spine, I know what I forgot to do. I always do it backwards too, and then I end up regretting it later, but that is okay. I will actually sit and do it with you right now with another spine so I don't forget later. Okay, remember, push either against the tabletop or against your body or something so you can get the nice hard tension. Push down away from the top and down onto the board. You want it to mount firmly. Let the glue dry. This way it pulls it nice and taut. There's going to be quite a bit of tension. And your fabric is going to lay nicely on your board when you are finished. And remember your index finger that has shiny glue on it. Don't touch your fabrics. Multitasking. Okay. There we are. Extra glue. Rub it off. Hi, Fluff. You guys are down there tearing it up, aren't ya? Yes, we are, Mom. We're kicking each other's booties. They beat each other up all the time. They're little Silly kids. Okay. And last section. And I will glue the second one off camera. If you guys want a demonstration on how to glue this again, you're just gonna have to rewind the video, but it will be the same for each cover. Lots and lots of glue. And if you want to avoid this little spot right here, how close it is, you can just take a piece of brown fabric before you lay these corners down, and you can glue it in, or you know, glue it like this or whatever, trim it up, make it look real nice, glue it in there to avoid from having that big old gap. Or when you lay your paper on your journal and you're finishing up mounting everything in place, you just make your paper come almost all the way to the edge right here. Either way, it'll cover it pretty well. Don't freak out if you don't get these perfect corners like this. It is okay. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of a gap here. You can always cover it. The beauty of junk journals. Okay, the fabric was bunching right here, so I just evened it out as best as I could because of the inconsistency and how flat the fabric is with all these seams. That is just how you're going to have to do it. If you have a flat piece of fabric, great, you won't have this issue. But if you do not, and some of it, like one side is a little like more lopsided than the other, you're just gonna have to run a balancing act with the fabric as best as you can. Alrighty, there is the cover of our journal. Excuse me. I love it. Okay, and here is our spine. It should be nice and dry now. Oh yeah, I'm loving how that's coming out. Now I think I want it up here. I do. I don't know if I want, do I want this one on the front? All right, I'm gonna glue this and I will come back. The one thing I also forgot to mention is depending on how thick your fabric is, and with this cover, because these were too close to the edges, I couldn't do it. You can forego cutting the corner entirely and just fold it down. And don't forget to pinch your corners here to make sure it goes in place really good, so you have that good folding for the corners. But this will keep from having these little gaps like this. I mean, the gaps are still going to be there, but it'll be covered in brown fabric, so you can make your inside cover, paper cover, fabric color cover, whatever it's going to be, the size that you want, instead of it being dictated by where the line is right here. So see it, let that dry a little bit, get rid of some glue. There we are. And see, you can just fold it down and it's completely covered. Perfect. Alrighty. Now back to finishing. And I was talking to myself and not recording. I feel like an idiot. Alright, so I was just saying that this piece of fabric, you can tell right here, is really super thick. So my blonde self cut the fabric a little too thin against the edge of the journal. That is okay though, because I took this clip and I clipped it down after I put extra glue in place. This glue is really, really great, and as soon as it is done drying, then I should be able to take this clip off and it won't move around anymore. This one is nice and long, so it shouldn't give me that big of an issue like the other one. That, and it's not as thick right here. This one might give me a little bit of an issue. I'll probably have to crimp it down into place, but still it is not as near as thick or as short as I accidentally made this one. Keep that in mind. Keep some extra little crimps around. I'm sure being crafters, you guys have something you can use. Alright, I'll be back with you shortly. Okay guys, while we're waiting for this one to dry, we can get started on the rest of this. Now I was mentioning I forgot a piece in here, and I'm glad I didn't glue these edges down before doing it. Obviously, don't forget to put a cap on your glue when you're not using it. Don't want it to dry. So I have this really, like heavy grade muslin. It's more of a mesh than a muslin, but it is qualified as a muslin. I actually should have grabbed my fabric scissors. So, about the length of your spine, we'll just go ahead and use one of these other spines over here to measure to make it easier. Like I said, should have done this before I went ahead and glued everything down. This is actually the first step, not the last step. Alrighty, so you want it to be a bit wider than the spine, because it's pretty much going to help hold things in place. And the way I'm doing it now, keep tab and take notes, because this is how I do it on my standard books. When I want to save the spine and I'm prepping it to put signatures in, excuse me, this is how I do it. Usually I'll fold over the end. If it's, oh, Lexi's at the door. Give me a minute. I don't want her pooping everywhere. And with this mesh, as long as you glue all the way up just past the fabric, it won't go anywhere. It won't fray or anything once it's solid glued down. Okay, now you see how it has these edges here? We want that. Do not peel these away. That was fully intentional. Now, what the difference between, let me go grab a book real quick. So you guys are kind of getting 2 homework sessions in one right now. So when I do a cover for a book and I want to save the spine and I don't want to stitch through it, I just take the fabric and I put the glue inside on the tape right here, or the cardboard, the original cardboard inside the spine. Sometimes I'll get like an upcycled piece of cardboard. One moment. You can use a file folder. I was given these. I don't like to buy them for this purpose, because when you buy paper kits, they have these on the covers and on the backs, and they work great. And you can cut the perfect size you need and add it to your spine, and it gives it a lot of stability without having to go out and buy extra material or waste what you already have. There's no point throwing it away if you can use it. It is a junk journal, am I right? So once you're done reinforcing the spine, you're going to take your fabric and you're going to start by gluing it directly to the spine. Now you're going to have this hanging out everywhere, so, and it's not going to be really connected. When it's done being glued, it's going to look kind of like this. You're going to have this gap right here. You're going to want to fill this in really nicely with glue. And leave this paper flap here, because this is going to help reinforce it. So you're going to fill this with glue, like not saturate it, but good enough to where it's going to be nice and tacky. Then you're going to press this down and make sure it's nice and firm. And then after that, now remember, this piece right here is already glued down. All of this brown paper has been glued to. Now you're going to start gluing over here and glue all of this down. And it is going to perfectly reinforce your spine. It's going to hold it really well for years to come, even if right here is starting to disintegrate. I actually have a couple books that I sell. When they're starting to disintegrate right here, I sell them for a cheapo price. That is cosmetic. That has nothing to do with the integrity of the book when I am uploading those for people or when you feel you're making these books and you want to keep the original cover, but it's going to have a little bit of degradation right here. It's not going to affect the overall integrity of the book. It's still going to work. You're still going to be able to open and close it on a regular basis. And it is not going to fall apart on you because you have this extra piece of fabric. You have, depending on whether you want it or not, this extra piece of cardboard in here with all of this wonderful heavy-duty glue holding it together and mounting it into place. So we're going to do a similar thing to these journals as well. It's just going to reaffirm everything, mount everything into place. Nothing too crazy, just a little bit of glue on this one because remember this fabric is meshy, so you don't have to go to crazy town. But you do want to make sure that, especially the fabric right here, that's mainly what this is for, is so that fabric doesn't shift when you're opening and closing your journal. Even on the books too, it kind of works as a reinforcement to keep it from shifting. And you could already tell right here that the fabric was starting to pull away because this is a very stiff fabric. Excuse me. And you don't want it to pull away from the cover here, so this mesh is really going to help with that. And it's going to reaffirm it, make sure it doesn't shift or move anywhere once it's in place. You might have to hold it for a second, let it dry a little bit. This way you know it's in place, you know it's not going anywhere. Fill in all these extra little spots that you missed, if you missed any. There you are. How about this side? And we're just gonna, because this is so thick, we're gonna keep a grip on that and holding it while we finish gluing the top side. I hope you guys can see. I'm not really paying attention too much to the camera while I'm doing this. Okay, there we are. And see how I got the glue up in the phrase right there? So it came all the way to the end of the spine. Perfect. See, there we are. And let's see how this came out. Oh yeah, that's mounted really good. Do not pull on this right now. Right now, all we want to do is we want to glue this mesh to this fabric. It is perfectly glued down to the cardboard. So if we pull on it too hard now, it is just going to shift and cause more problems. Go ahead and lay your glue down. And this is the 3-part cover. I also do them in a full entire section, just one solid piece. As you've seen, the 3-part cover is probably the most difficult to do. It's not difficult, it's more time consuming than anything, but it's not as difficult because it's not as hard to mess up. Now when we start getting into the spine ridges, it gets a little bit easier to mess things up. And if any of you have worked with spine ridges, you know, because like you've seen with a couple of spots on the fabric where it's higher in some places than others, you have to sit there and consistently mold it until it dries where you want it. And if you don't, then it's going to shift out of place and look terrible. Alright, I'm just cleaning off my fingers real quick here. Alright. Perfect. Alright, now, same thing with this other side. It is glued down to the cardboard, except for right there. Get a little bit of glue in there, best we can. And while we're at it, we might as well just add the glue for the rest of everything. Just start going to glue town. Remember, we're working with mesh, not a fabric, so it will bleed through if you put too much. So it has to be just the right amount. You will get better with practice. I'm telling you now. It's not rocket science, but you're probably, if you get it right on your first try and it is perfect, kudos to you. If there is glue everywhere and you are about ready to pull your hair out, it's happened to the best of us. Okay, so I'm going to want to push down on this. Actually, I'm gonna, oh, poopers are at the door. I'm gonna push all this into place. And then while I go get the door with the pups, I'm going to just hold down on this heavy piece of fabric here and make sure all of this mesh is really good in place while I'm holding. This way the glue can dry really good. You see how I'm pushing it up against the mesh? That is fully intentional. The mesh is supposed to help, or the fabric. Whatever you decide to use is going to keep it in place. You will never see this fabric again. You can choose the ugliest, nastiest fabric you got if you want. Just something that's gonna help hold everything into place. All right, I'm gonna go let in the pups. Okay, guys. I have a feeling this is probably going to be a two-part series. You're probably already in the second part if it is. Yeah, it takes a little bit to glue these together. It's time consuming. So, all right, now we're going to start with the almost final part. We are almost finished constructing our cover. Glue all of this, all of it. This flap on the top / bottom, whichever direction you want your journal to go. Perfect. All right, rub that in there really good. Smooth it out. I like smoothing it out because it gives it a really nice smooth seal. It can get a little tacky while I rub off this glue. All right, now start by pushing right here on the edge and just pushing our fabric in and molding it into place. Again, pull it as tight as you can, especially along these edges right here. Pinch into place right where the cardboard ends. You're going to want to get a really nice edge going on right there. And sometimes you're going to have a little excess like this. That is okay. Just make sure your lines here and here are pretty well straight. You don't want them being higher looking like this. You want them straight or a little down. Alrighty. And sometimes you can just rub your fabric like this and this excess will come off. It just depends on whether it's ingrained in your fabric because it pushed through, or it's lightly stuck on the top because you touched it. And of course, how soft or how delicate your fabric is, because if you have really delicate fabric, well, I'm sorry, it's there to stay. Alright, now let's glue this one. Alright, glue it in there really good. Don't stop till you drop. Is that like shopping? Don't stop till you drop. Excuse me. Alright, smooth out your glue really good. Oh, Fluff decided he wanted some water. Alright. Get that let that tack up while we get rid of this excess glue. All right. And push your fabric down nice and taut. Remember, with these covers, you got to keep them taut. Keep them nice and tight. All right. And again, you're going to end up with some of them in some places. Just do your best to even them out, work them in. If they don't, it's okay. We're only human. It's not going to be perfect. All right, pinch into place in this corner here. Now Lexi's at the door. My little Lex. All right, now that this is all dry and your mesh is in here, and it's only been a few minutes since I glued this mesh in. Look at that. Look how it lays. It lays perfectly now. It actually looks like an amazing book spine. I think, yes, I really like that. Okay, tell me what you guys think. Oh, yes, and that is nice and dry. Just took off the clip. It's not going anywhere. Okay, now which one do I want to be the front and the back? Decisions. That is pretty much it, guys. Our 3-piece spine is done. Let me go let in the pup. I will glue all this up, and we'll have a little itty-bitty chat. Woo-wee, okay. Now that this is ready to go, ooh, I can't wait to gift this. I am so excited. And I have more than enough left to make more of these journals. Please message me if you would love a firefighter journal. I know some people don't have access to the turnouts. If any family members are in the fire department and they have their own special class of turnouts, you can turn their turnouts into a journal for them. Keep in mind, some of them may not want that. Definitely ask before you go tearing apart your family members' turnouts. It is a very, very important memory, a very important part of them. It's who they are. So be sure and ask before you go and start tearing apart their turnouts or anyone's anything that you want to turn into a journal. I had a lady send me a vintage wedding dress, and I completely love how that came out. It just depends on the person. Make sure you're doing with their property what they want done with it. Now, I am going to glue these here and here. You just add your glue right along here. Make sure to leave a little gap between here and here. This way you have a nice hinge going on, because you don't want it all the way up against the spine. You're not going to have any hinge going on, and it's going to cause you issues. Because of this turnout material and this plasticky shiny fabric here, I actually need to go get some sanding paper. I have these sanding blocks. I love them. You can get them at Home Depot. You can get them at Lowe's, at Ace. You can just go over to the drywall section and pick yourself one up. They're really easy to work with. You can get this angled one, or you can get just a boxy square one. I have those too. I always have sandpaper lying around. You're never going to know what you're going to use it for. And this fabric's been well washed, so all of this character that's on it, it's not going away. It is here to stay. I'm just going to sand up the edges that are going to be connected to anything really well. I don't know though. It looks like the glue is sticking to it pretty well. May not have any issues after all, but I just want to buff it up just to be safe. All right. There we go. Now let's start our gluing. Now, do I want this one on the front? What do you guys think? Or do I want this one on the front? I love the character of this one and how it has so much going on. I'm not gonna... I have some Tim Holtz pieces, so give me a moment. Okay guys, so I'm not kidding when I say my all is my best friend. I love this thing. If you do not have one, get one. I got this one, I think, at Joann's. They carry it at Joann's and Michael's. I've had this thing for probably over a year now, and kudos all around. Really, really great haul. I don't remember the name of it. Please don't ask. All I know is it's the only one that they sell in Arizona at Joann's and Michael's. So I got this 517 tool check. Thought that would be perfect. Going down in the corner. Just take your awl and push all the way through. I put it up against my chest, hold with both hands where I want it, and push it through. If you have a crocodile, great. I don't have that stuff. The awl works great for all of these wondrous goodies. We're going to be using copper brads because I don't have any silver brads. This is what I got, so this is what we're going to use. And I pushed the fabric out of the way a little bit on the back with the awl, but that is okay because I don't think the brad will fit all the way through with the fabric. So we're just going to spread these little thingy-mabobbers. And I actually have some pliers that I like to use for this. Alright. Just push that in place really well. You don't even have to, like, just close your pliers and use the tip and push them in place. You can use scissors to do this if you wanted. Alrighty. Oh yeah. I like the way that turned out. My buddy Unigas would say, yee! Awesome. Okay, so we also have this one. It says electrical. And because we got ourselves an engineer here, I don't know, it just sounds good. Of course, the engineers don't work with electrical, so I don't know why I just said that. It just sounded good. I feel like a blonde now. Okay, just set it right in the middle. And push, 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 push. Keep your fingers out of the way. It will hurt if you don't. There you go. And now line it back up. Make sure it's where you want it. Push, 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 push. Push. All right. Perfect. Oops, now I got brads everywhere. All right, for this one, the brads just barely fit, so I'm going to add some glue across here just to make sure that everything goes into place really well. Don't want to have it falling off later, obviously, because it pops out from use or something crazy. Okay, so we're going to push the brad, because I know the brads fit literally almost perfectly inside of this one. See, look at that. Oh yeah, and it's very little space on these brads on the other side, so you want to be sure and get in there and push it as hard as you can. Make sure you can get it just as close as you can. I'm using my nails. I've got really thick nails because I did them last night. So I'm just using those to push it in place and make sure that they're nice and flush up against the metal and the spine. That way they're not gonna go anywhere. Same thing here. I hope you guys can see. I'm doing the best that I can. And just push them down really, really good. Perfect, because you don't want it. Alright, yeah, this isn't going anywhere. Awesome. Oh, it's so cool. Alright, go pick these up. I'll come back to you. Alright, now we're ready to start gluing in place. And just go to town. Remember, don't forget your gap here. Leave a nice gap. And if you have a little excess glue go over, do your best to wipe it away before it causes too much damage. And even if you put the line too far this way, don't worry about it, because you can always shift your cover while you're mounting it into the position you want, and it'll drag plenty of glue with it. I actually like to put it more towards this side. That way I can drag it towards the center of the spine and keep the glue from peeking through. Alright, see, we're going to have a little bit of the glue peeking through here just to show you what I mean. Now mount your spine into place and just drag it right into place. Just grab it with your fingers and pull it downwards. Like, oh, you can't really see what I'm saying. So once you got it mounted in place, just take your fingers here and pull it this way with both of your fingers. Just pull the fabric down. I don't want to really do it too much because I already have it mounted exactly where I wanted. And we have the good movement here. Really amazing going on here. Oh my, wow. I'm loving the way this is coming out. So beautiful. This is going to be another one that I really, really want to keep. It's okay though. I know it'll be well loved where it's going. And I can show it off to all their friends. Alrighty. Now, while this is drying, we don't want to disturb it too much. Especially with this fabric. I haven't worked with it much in making journals, so I'm going to find another clip. Now with the fabric that I really, really work with usually, it doesn't shift very much, but this plastic brings questions, and I don't want it shifting while I'm working on the other side. Usually I wouldn't do this, but again, I want it to stay in place, and it just depends on the fabric I'm using. Alright, now you see that really big gap I'm doing there? That is completely intentional. It is okay to have a big gap. You can shift your piece to fit. Alright. We don't need to shift any of this glue around with our finger. Just make sure it's covering everything really well. Lay our piece in place. And like I said, just use your fingers to pull. See how we're shifting here? Just use your fingers here to shift. And mount everything into place. Oh, we got a little bit of... We're going to have to trim that off. And if you have to do any trimming, do it before it's too late. Trust me. And don't ever cut too close to the spine. It will look terrible. Just trust me on that. Oh, yep. It's getting very tacky now. And mounting into place. There we are. Alrighty. Again, remember, just grab with your thumbs are going to hold the cover in place, and your fingers are going to pull down on the fabric on the back to get it exactly where you want it. Like this. Just your fingers will mount, and these fingers will just pull down. Just grip on this fabric and pull. So that way you can shift it where you want it. Alright. Well, we got a little bit of goggly goop going on here. So we can probably just take a little bit of glue. Shh. Sometimes we just gotta fix things. Just really nicely push it down in there. See? It's not perfect, but it'll do in a pinch. And there you have it. A very lovely, amazing, juicy firefighter cover. Don't forget to clean off the top of your glue. Always close it. And when it's fully dry, I'll... Okay, so I hope you all really, really enjoyed working with me on this video. This one obviously came at a request, how to cover the journals. This was a 3-part step. And it's probably going to be a 2-part video. Just letting you know, I already know it's hellaciously long. So, yes. there was a lovely lady that requested that I do covered journals because she really loves my work and loves the way they look when they're done. So please, I hope you all really enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel. I know I haven't done tutorials in a while. It has been crazy, hectic, busy, going through a lot of ups and downs in my life this year. But it's almost a new year, and let's look forward to hopefully some really great changes and some really great financial stability. That is my goal this next year. And thank you for tuning in. Please look down below for other journals I've done this month. They will all, I'm going to list a couple of them. I'm going to try and throw them up on the icon thing up here whenever I get a chance. Remember, I don't edit too much on YouTube directly. Most of it's just plug and play. It's very rare that I actually get to sit in the computer and edit on YouTube. Most of my editing is done on my phone, really fast on a whim. Also, at the end of the video, that's generally a plug and play. I try to throw up some videos there too. I hope you all enjoy them. And please go over to my junk journals. Check out all of the junk journals I've done. I would love it. Head on over to my Instagram at lilmissdasie. I would love it if you guys would check that out too. Give me a follow. I am almost up to 500 subscribers on my YouTube channel. There will be a giveaway when I hit 500, and there will be instructions to follow. Have a wonderful day. Bye!